In this video, Justin Taylor, Vice President of Product Management, provides a demonstration of ReadyBot's identity automation platform.
One of the most common use cases we get is that for service desk automation and for identity automation is that somebody has a process that's already been set up, that there is a ticket being created. Now, that ticket could come from, again, an IGA, it could come from a SOAR, it could come from all sorts of different places, right? It's some event that's coming in here. In a lot of cases too, we find customers who don't have IGAs and their process for identity management is a series of tickets. And so they have some particular ServiceNow workflow they may have created, or in another product, they may have one. And so we just have this very basic one here for like creating a new user. So I'm just going to create Donald Duck here. Whoops. Donald is his first name. And DDuck at Acme. Okay, and let's put Donald Duck in HR. That should work out well. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and this, by the way, is just a standard ServiceNow ticket. We don't dictate out how ServiceNow works. We don't put any requirements on there for them. We just have a very little piece of code that goes into the workflow that basically just says send it with this particular job code on it, so that we know what to do with it. It's just a routing number basically. And so we can take it, we can send it off. I can come in here, and this one has an approval process in place. So you see it's waiting for approval here. And I'm going to come down and I'm going to approve it. Okay. And you're going to see here that it's going to say in just a second that it is been approved and the work is in progress. Okay, so let me take you into their platform. So our platform, this is what we call the studio, Bot Studio. And one of the things that we have inside of here, besides just bots, is the ability to create very high performant environments and highly reliable environments as well. So you're going to see that this little bot here is running, and it started up. So it picked up that event, and it's going to go ahead and take care of what needs to be done. And the way that it's doing that, just so you kind of understand, is there's many different ways you could do it. You don't have to use this particular method, but what we've done is we've created what we call a playbook here. And the playbook has, for example, a source code. So when that event was kicked off, it just simply had to say, this is the source code. This is the ID that I want you to use for the playbook. And inside of here, this bot looks at that, and it goes ahead and execute. And you see there, it's executed the provisioning process, because that's what the source ID was for it. And so it went through and it provisioned the user inside of AD and assigned it a license and did all the different things that it's supposed to do there. So that's one way that we can manage it. But the real thing I just want to demonstrate here is that, again, not only do we go through and work with what you have, but you see we also closed out the ticket. So you actually see that we're updating in the back end that we've actually accomplished the task. So that could be for anything. It could be in ServiceNow, your ITSM, it could be whatever we need to do. We can put the logic to do round trip and whatever else needs to actually take place for that process. So what you've seen there is now I can get data from a system and I can process it inside of here and put it into a very highly scalable, reliable system. Right now there's no service items to be done, but we can see that there have been other processes in the last 24 hours that actually have gone through this. Matter of fact, it was this one here that you just saw inside of it. At the same time, we can create other types of bots. We can create what we call data tables. So one of the things that we put inside the platform, for those people who have done IGA and built connectors maybe and things of that nature, or built processes for automation or connectivity, a lot of times you're dealing with data where you've got temporary data. Where do I store this data? Where do I keep track of the last configuration of a user? How do I get deltas? You have all these different things that you're trying to accomplish inside of as you're going through processes. Well, we give you unlimited storage within the product. So you can go inside here and you can actually write out data. In this case here, we've created an audit log for it, but we have other customers that bring in data like for SharePoint. One of our customers has like 125,000 SharePoint sites, and every 3 days they get an inventory of them. They have one table that was the previous config, and they have another table that is the new config, and they correlate that data out to a the differences table inside of there. And so they can see all this data within the environment and store that. And then they can use that for analysis, for security purposes, or for utilization, or whatever it might be for them. So again, you have that capability. You have the queues, you have data table storage, you have these bots that are inside of here that are, again, just PowerShell scripts. They're nothing difficult to write. It takes standard PowerShell. We're using PowerShell 5 in here. It's being upgraded to PowerShell Core or 7. We're working on starting the process of doing the migration, which would then give you cross-platform capabilities. We can really do that now. Just so you know, you have to jump through a few hoops with our proxy to make it function, but we can do it. It's just not something that we have native out of the box right now. But every time that this bot is actually run, you actually do see when the bot, actually that bot was never run because it's not actually a functioning bot, but this one is. So every time I run the bot, I see what was done with that bot inside of there. I also have the ability to delegate this down to individuals. I can take this particular piece here and I can go to permissions and I can delegate this entire folders. So from other customers have actually delegated out to us other portals, as we call them. So you can literally take this and you could say, Mr. Customer, I want you to have access to these services where they can go in and configure them for themselves. And you can just go in and delegate or share that out to specific users and what they can actually do with that particular application or that particular service that you've created inside of here. We provide credential management, so you have the key vault as well, so you can create your own credentialed keys in here or created keys. The other thing is we can also work with Thycotic and CyberArk as well. So if you have those, and we could also work with Beyond Trust or any of the other ones if we really needed to. We just have out of the box functionality for the other two right now. Those particular pieces can then be, those credentials can then be shared. So this really is a zero trust type of environment where the user never has direct access. So you can make a tool in here that's extremely powerful, be able to, delete a VM or delete users or, set up service principals and things of that nature, things that are, very restricted access because of their sensitivity and the cost associated with possibly messing it up. Well, one of the things about our bots is that because we can narrow down the focus of exactly what you can do with that bot, you can delegate that out to somebody. The bot uses a credential out of our credential store, and I can delegate that out to somebody so that they can only do that particular task, but it will only do it in the way that they actually it's supposed to take place. They can't reuse that credential and go outside and they can't even check it out like a typical PAM and go and do it. So it really gets down to that complete, the operationalization of privileged access management. You can make sure that people aren't misusing that. One of our customers, KU, that was one of their big issues is they have a student labor force, and the students are the first tier help service desk. Well, they're not going to give students direct access to back-end services or to very, complex services and risky systems. They just can't do it. They don't have any education in that space. So what they were doing before is about 90% of their tickets had to be escalated on the first call. We dropped that down to 12%. Have to be escalated. And the reason they did it is because they can give a person with, just out of high school, a bot, delegate that bot out to them, and they can then go and initiate that bot in a very structured way, very controlled way, logging, know who did it, when they did it, why they did it, but that person can never make a mistake with it. They just go through and enter in the information, and the logic is built into the bot on how to actually service it there for them. But again, you can create as many bots as you like. You can create all the data storage that you want. You can create multiple queues for different services out there. You can deal with all your different credentials and integrate those with it as well. And you can then take those pieces and delegate it out for individuals to use inside of there. On top of that, This here is the bot studio, as we said. This is mainly the developer view of things, but we also are focusing more on the end user experience. And so we're building additional applications, taking those bots and building applications on it. For example, this is the new Microsoft 365 manager. So this is designed for multi-tenant administration of Microsoft 365, and it's extensible. That's a big deal for customers, is that you're not just limited to what we could imagine. You can actually take it and create your own bots and your own functions inside of here. But the customer we've designed this for, actually, they have 8,000 Azure AD tenants. Yes, you heard me right, 8,000 Azure AD tenants. And they want to be able to go through and to manage all of those with a single pane of glass. And so we can come inside of here for all the tenants that we have. It's loading up. We can then come in and see, okay, well, what's the total users? What's the average? I can come in and, select a user, see information on them, and I can initiate bots against it. What I want to do, create a new one, edit, enable logins, whatever I need to do. And these are just different bots in the back end that are actually executing these particular tasks. Same thing for groups, for mailboxes, even our licensing. This is an extension of our licensing that allows them to actually see who's using what licenses. There's not a lot of data in here right now because this is the development tenant inside of there. But it, again, has all the different users inside of there, what they're actually doing with the license. We look to analyze, for example, are you using it? Did you activate it? When's the last time you used it? Should you have an E5, or can I lower you down to an F3? We can make those kind of decisions for them. On top of that, from an identity management perspective, is that we also have what we call Atlas. So Atlas is our directory. This is something that the technical people will be more interested in. Matt had heard about this a long time ago, but Atlas is real Matt. And what Atlas does is it gives us a common way for us to establish and manage different entities within the organization, whether it's the users or the entitlements or connectors, different services that you can build on top of this, even the applications. So each of these things that's listed over here, Microsoft 365, License Manager, On Message, which is our communication product, all those things that are inside of here are actually Atlas apps. They're app objects that are in the back end. So I can manage all those from within here. And this is still, this is the development piece. So they're building this out right now, where I can come in and manage these different entities. I can see all the different systems that you're connected to through our connector framework. Workday here, there's no additional attributes, but I can see that I have some additional attributes here for Azure AD or Microsoft 365. Again, I can see all those types of things from right within here. This is also where you'll start to see the entitlements flowing through. So we do have entitlements in there. They're just not showing up here in the grid right now. I apologize for that. But when you need to make decisions about things like, what should somebody have access to? Well, it's really a rule. And I can do either manual explicit assignments, or I can build queries and say, well, if you match these particular properties, then you get access. So not dramatically different than what anyone else has. The difference is going to be in the scalability and the extensibility of it. It's massively scalable. This particular tenant inside of here has just over 1 million objects, and you see how fast they come up. This is based on, for the really nerds out there, it's Azure Cosmos. It's designed for, basically unlimited scalability. That's why we built on top of it. And it's dramatically fast. We can add, just so you guys get kind of an idea for like onboarding, we can add about 100,000 users into Cosmos in 7 minutes, including processing time. So try that with somebody else. You're probably not going to get that type of scalability inside there. We've purposely built it to be immensely scalable, because it's one of the things that always drove me nuts about any product out there was that you had to always be concerned about, well, I got to time this and do that. Here, we just don't care. It's microservice. We're going to scale up and down based upon what you need. So that was just a quick little demo. I know there's a lot of stuff we covered there. Hopefully just got you excited